Last Resort is the new kid on the block trying to compete against the super funded mega international corporations like Nike, New Balance, Adidas, and Converse, dubiously dubbed the Big Four. And these big companies have really squeezed the skater-owned brands almost completely out of the market, like Lakai, America, Circa, Etnies, even DC to some extent can't even get close to competing with the deep pockets of the Big Four. So then why is Last Resort succeeding where so many of these other brands have failed? We're gonna try to figure that out by cutting these shoes in half and running through our tests to really figure out, are they good skateboarding shoes? Are they worth the money? And is Last Resort the last chance for a skater-owned independent sneaker company competing against all these big brands, especially the Big Four? So what are these shoes? Well, the brand is Last Resort AB. AB is same as Co in Sweden, by the way. The style is the VM001 low suede. They weigh 14.4 ounces. They retail for pretty steep $95, especially for a skate shoe that you're just going to destroy. They're made in Vietnam. And the way they position these shoes are the VM001 is our first shoe made solely for skateboarding in mind in every detail. A silhouette that is nice and simple, just the way we skaters like it. The VM001 comes in both low and high versions. We don't have any corporate backing, no one telling us what to do, and neither should you. And if you want a pair of these, be sure to check them out via links in my description.
All right, my name's Sam. I work behind the scenes here at Anvil. I'm kind of the resident skate guy because I skate. I'm terrible at skating, but I've learned a ton about shoes and I like to skate, so I'll give you a little context to Last Resort, why you should care. So Last Resort, they were started by Sammy Tolpe and his friend Daniel as a high-end fashion sneaker brand in 2018. But like in comes the main player of this story around the 2019 era is Pontus Alv. So Pontus Alv is a pro skater from Malmö, Sweden. He had a pretty successful career in the 90s and 2000s. He decided to kind of pursue his own ideals and vision for skating. So he started his own skate company called Polar Skate Co. in 2011. He has a couple of sick quotes. He said, "I like turning dreams into reality. I love creating and making things, everything from the perfect shaped boards to solving the skater's pants nightmare. They say if you can't find it, design it, or if you are unhappy with something, well, shut up and make it better." He's also quoted as saying, "The past years or so, when I look out at the so-called skate shoe landscape, there is something about it that feels like off and weird. These huge corporations running things their way. It's a feeling, like I said above, like if you're unhappy with it, well, then shut up and do something about it," which is sick. I like that attitude. He's just like, I hate it, I'm gonna change it. So in 2019, when Pontus called Sammy about his shoe company and they were talking about partnering, Pontus said, "If you can get me vulcanized shoes, a very nice product design, and it has to cost less than $100, I'm in." But according to a Genka magazine interview, Pontus said their first samples, they had them within just weeks, and he's just like, oh, just like that, we've started a shoe company. So Pontus brought a ton of hype to the table. His skateboard company they started, Polar, has been very successful at curating like the coolest skaters and releasing the most sought after products, like the big boy jeans. They really propelled like baggy pants like straight into the mainstream. They're so popular, they've kind of become like meme pants. There's another Gen Con video where everyone's like, what are the best pants? And everyone's like, oh, I hate to say it, it's kind of embarrassing, but Polar big boys. So I wore my Polar big boys. I don't know where the thing is. There it is. In honor of this, so even I have a pair, and it is kind of embarrassing, but they feel good, and you know, they're kind of sick. So if you skate, you pretty much know Polar. Like if you're kind of in the scene or anything, you know Polar. They're huge right now. I wouldn't say they're like Element, Bam Margera in like the early 2000s, like Chad Muska levels, but like they're pretty close, and they really know how to like capture the vibe and be cool and be like trendsetters. They do that very well. Pontus has a great eye for design. Taking Pontus like design eye and Sammy's know-how of the industry, the Last Resort skate shoes released in 2020 to a very primed, very hyped audience. Like I remember being excited. I was like, oh my goodness, look at these shoes. They look so sick. I want to get my hands on a pair. They've released, I think they have like 7 different product models. They're kind of billed and presented as like a pretty premium product because of their fairly high price tag and like their super clean aesthetic. You're just like, oh, this looks really good. It's probably going to be really good. I mean, they're not the most expensive on the market, but they're pretty dang close to the top. Like these are $95. Their competitors like the America Volk lows are like $65. Vans Skate Old Schools are $75. Adidas Vucenitz Volks are $75. Even Nike has like the Zoom Blazer lows at $85. So I want to see like how they actually feel. Are they as premium as they look and kind of how they're presented? How do they skate? We're going to pass the leather section to Weston. He's the leather daddy. He knows all the facts. He'll tell you if it's good or bad. On to Weston, I guess.
So now start looking at the details and the materials that they use for the shoe, starting with the leather first, my expertise. And right off the bat, it's pretty obviously some kind of suede leather. You know, this is really popular for skateboarding shoes because suede is a little more abrasion resistant rather than the grain side of the leather being out, the smooth texture you associate with more higher end leathers. That's called the grain. This is more suede, that back side of leather underneath on the inside of the cow. And it's a lot bigger fibers, it's a lot looser fibers. So when you're actually abrading this with grip tape, the fibers kind of move around and are harder to sand down. And even if you do sand it down, there's a chance it's just gonna sand a part of that fiber off rather than the whole fiber. The reason for skateboarding shoes liking suede is the same reason you see more rough out and suede leathers on work boots. The biggest difference though is the grain pattern on a more work boot that's a rough out or flesh out is still in the cross section, it's just flipped to the inside. With suedes, they remove that top grain portion and save it for higher quality leathers that are more expensive, and all you're left with is all the loose fibers. So because you're missing that grain pattern, there's some inherent issues with suede. One of them being that it stretches really easily. It's not as strong structurally, but for skating shoes, suede is super, super common because you don't necessarily want to pay the extra premium to have a rough out versus a suede on a shoe that's under $100 you're gonna destroy in a few months. But with these last resorts, the suede has some issues with it because it's not the actual suede itself, it's 1.4 millimeters thick. It is a true suede, and they've even backed it with a fabric to act as that grain portion to structure all those loose fibers to prevent some of the stretching that can happen with suede. But the problem is the patterning and the way they use suede in this hole cut fashion makes the suede overly stretched to a point where you kind of bottom out or you max out the lacings within a few weeks of wearing them. So for a lot of people that wear these, they can't ever get them tightened down after a couple of weeks of wear. And the problem with that is skateboarding, you want them to be tight, you want to be supportive, you want to know exactly what's going on underneath your foot so you have more board control. So if your shoes are super loose and are not tightened down, a lot of skaters want that. And that's not what you get with this last resort because they use suede and because of this patterning. But that patterning is also part of the cool thing about this shoe because it is a hole cut sneaker. And what that means is the entire pattern of the upper is made of one single panel of leather, at least for the most part. This little back panel, this little tab here, and the lace stay is a separate panel, but the majority of this and the main component is a single hole cut piece of leather. Benefits of that, especially for skating, is you don't have those fail points where the two pieces of leather come together and have a stitch line across it. If you sand through that stitch line, that'll come unraveled. So with this shoe being hole cut, you don't have as many fail points. And even if you do sand through part of this with the lace stays, it's not gonna completely ruin the structure of the shoe. But this hole cut thing is also part of why this shoe overstretches, because the more paneling you have and the more stitch lines you have going through, the more stabilized that suede is gonna be, because you don't have 8 inches of suede that can stretch, you only have smaller portions of that suede that can stretch. So even though this suede is not bad suede and it's on par with all the other sneakers we see in this price range and for this purpose, the way that they use the suede in the hole cut pattern and the fact that they don't have a big gap of where the laces are really negates the value you get from suede, and it kind of ruins the structure of the shoe if you like your skate shoes pretty tight. So it's not bad leather, it's just a bad use of leather. And then if we start looking at the inside, there's some really cool stuff on the inside of here. There's also one really, really terrible thing. We'll start with the good. So the first thing is I love this internal counter cover. So that's where everybody wears out their shoes, right at the heel, boots, shoes, every kind of quality of shoe. That's where one of the most common wear spots is. And so in the last resorts, they backed that with a really, really heavy canvas. But the canvas does a couple things because it's such a rough canvas. It's gonna grip your heel, preventing a lot of heel slip, which is gonna lead to premature wear and blisters. And then the rest of the lining is just looks like a cotton twill. We burned it, it smelled like cotton, and we also burned the canvas, it smelled like cotton. So I'm pretty sure a thinner cotton twill and that heavier canvas are both cotton. And as for the thicknesses of them, the twill is about 0.4 millimeters thick, and that heavier canvas is at the heel is about 0.9 millimeters thick. And then the one thing that's just terrible, that I just do not like in any way, the collar right here on the inside where it's making contact with your skin, they use a fake leather. Fake leather is not the worst thing in the world, but especially for this area, that fake leather rubs on your skin in a way that leather doesn't, because it's basically like plastic on your skin, because that's all fake leather is. And when plastic hits your skin, you're starting to get a little sweaty, it starts rubbing, and next thing you know, you've got like sore spots on the side of your foot because they didn't want to use a higher quality material like leather. And aside from that, leather lasts longer. It's going to absorb your sweat more, so you don't get as sticky and kind of gross feeling around the collar. It doesn't stink as bad. It's not going to flake off with big chunks of fake leather over top. It's just better in basically every way. But it's a little bit more expensive. But keep in mind, these are $95, some of the more expensive sneakers we're doing in this more skate series. So you think there would be just a little bit of extra room just to make that leather, but guess not.
So going to one of the most important parts of any skate shoe is the insole. They got a ton of complaints when they first released about the insole being terrible, and I'm gonna have to agree with it because I skated them when they first released. Got an old pair here that I've skated. This is a canvas pair. I think it's a Dancer collab. Shout out to Dancer and like Hjalti and the Copenhagen crew. What their insole was when the first release is just like open cell foam with a little, almost like Converse. Like go watch the Converse vs. Converse and Converse vs. PS Flyers videos. It's just like a little rubber, but that's it. This is like all you get, and it sucked. It sucked to skate in.
I really like skating the last resorts, but they're kind of pricey. And the insoles suck. Like,
and honestly, they do suck. They've recently released a new insole. It's called the Cloudy Cush insole. It looks like it's just closed cell foam with like textile top. There's some holes punched through the toe and the heel, I guess for added breathability. Not that you could really feel it when you skate. So we're gonna put these to test, see if they're actually good now or if they still kind of suck. We took it to the ball drop test, and the old ones on the ball drop test, they bounced up 13.8 inches, and the new ones bounced up 12 inches. So what that tells me is these ones actually cushion a little bit more because the ball doesn't jump up as high. They're pretty close, but honestly skating in them, the new ones feel immensely better than the old ones. I still don't love them because there's like not enough squish and like structure under my foot. The old ones definitely suck, so definitely get one that has the new insoles in it. I actually had to go up a size because there's so much more cushion in them. So that's definitely good, but when you take out the insole, you can kind of see why they're so hard on your feet, because the lasting board here, usually it's like some sort of harder material like non-woven or fiber board or like compressed cardboard or something. This just feels like it's literally a piece of fabric over the rubber insole. I can feel all of the columns in the insole. That just tells you, I mean, there's no midsole in these at all. You're standing straight on the rubber. There's no cushion at all, so you're just like smacking your feet down all day without any relief except for this little bit of cushion. That's kind of the trade-off you get with, you know, having a floppy shoe that's vulcanized. Does add a little more squish than the old one, but like it's still pretty rough on your feet after skating for the whole day. So that brings us to like one of the most important things in all of skate shoes is the type of construction and outsole it has on it. There's two main types of shoe construction in all of skating: vulcanization and cup sole style outsoles. It's a big divider. Most people only choose one. You're either in one camp or the other. So what the heck are the two? Cup sole, it's when you take the upper and you take an outsole unit and you just put them together. You can sew it on if you're lucky. Most of the time they're just glued on to the bottom. It's usually made out of like harder rubber and you get less board feel out of that. Vulcanization is when the shoes get a thin rubber outsole glued to the upper and then a piece of rubber is put around the outside. It's called foxing. So it's like the foxing's the white, the outsole part is the gum sole color. You have to throw it in a big oven to kind of bake. And so the foxing and the outsole kind of cure together to create like one bonded outsole. Usually it's softer, which means more board feel. Most vulcanized shoes don't have any midsole. Like we saw, like this one has no midsole, and all the comfort is super heavily reliant on the actual insole itself. So that's why the insole is so important in this one. They're definitely not as supportive. Here, we'll do a flop test. So this is Volk and this is cup sole. Ooh, that's like significantly harder to do that on. To really see like how grippy this is and why you can feel so much, we put the durometer on it. And it comes in at 60 Shore A, which is about average for a sneaker. So it's gonna be pretty grippy. I know the last Jordan 4 SBs that we did, you should go watch that video. And that was a cup sole. Their rubber is coming in at about like 75, which is super slick to skate on. So these ones do feel pretty grippy when you're on your board. We put on the bar drop test to see like how much response you get, like of just having the rubber outsole and no like midsole. It bounced about 5.5 inches. It's kind of like the lower third. And then just throwing it on the puncture test to kind of show durability, it took 73 pounds to puncture. Kind of the lower half of all tests. It's pretty soft. I mean, honestly, it's just like a basic sneaker outsole. I don't know. From the outside, nothing of this is like super premium. It's pretty basic as far as skate shoes go. So the whole kind of everything about this shoe that ties in is they wanted to make a super vulcanized shoe. It's like the most Volk shoe I've ever skated. It's tough with the Volk because it's so much board feel. You can literally feel everything. If you're going on asphalt, you're able to feel pretty much all of that. So if you like that, it's good, but it's not for me. We'll throw it to Weston. He'll cut it in half and kind of give you the material breakdown of all this, because I'm super curious what's actually inside of here.
All right, we got them cut in half, and huge shout out to Sam for tackling these skate videos. He's the one guy in the shop that actually knows what he's talking about with skate shoes and actually tests them and wears them and knows about them. So shout out to Sam. And also, if you're not subscribed, just push that little subscribe button. It helps us out. It helps support Sam too. Makes him feel good if you guys like and subscribe on his videos. So let's see what's inside.
So I love these shoes just for like chilling, and weirdly enough, they're like my favorite walking shoes. I would buy them specifically as like a sneaker for walking. Are they as premium as they look and feel? I mean, honestly, no. I think they achieved what they wanted to, like doing their Volk shoe, but like honestly, it's just like a skate shoe with good aesthetics. But nothing from the materials tells me that they're better than anything else I've skated. They're so unstructured and floppy, it's hard to skate in them. My friend had a really good quote about them. He said, they're the best looking skate shoes, but if I had to skate them, they would be my last resort, which I thought was really funny. Maybe that's what they were going for, because they're just tough to skate in. I mean, they beat your feet up a ton. I don't know how people in their videos, like I think Chris Millich is them, he's like doing drops, going down all these crazy rails. All these homies are just doing big tricks, and man, that hurts my feet. And I don't know how they can do that in this shoe, because that would break my foot in half. They're my last resort. I don't know what else to say. I do love them though. But is it worth the money? I mean, it's pretty steep. You could get something just as good for $20 to $30 cheaper. I mean, you're definitely paying like the small brand, kind of not venture capitalist funded tax. Do I think they're gonna stay alive versus these mega industries? I hope so. I mean, honestly, they're coming into the industry as like their skater-owned brand. They put out sick parts. They have a cool team. They're like doing it the right way. It's kind of like the ground up from the industry thing. They're not just like, oh, I'm Nike, let's make a skateboard team now. Here's all the money. So I hope they stay around, because honestly, people like them and they look really good. They're just not for me. Let me know what you think, I guess. Just comment what else you want to see. If I'm off about anything, if Weston's off about anything. He's off about a lot, so let him know. Make sure to subscribe, because this is really expensive to do. Hitting subscribe definitely helps us to be able to pay for all these videos. And if you like these videos, watch them a lot, because if no one watches the skate videos, then we stop doing skate shoes, because that's how it works. So let me keep doing videos, and let me keep getting to try out all these skate shoes and give you the honest opinions that you won't find on the websites. So I'm out. Big boy jeans. Of